Today I'm sharing my 8th graders literature for this school year. In last week's video, I shared what my daughter in 12th grade is doing for her literature course this year. Today I'm sharing what my daughter in 8th grade is doing for her literature. Just like with my older daughter, I gave my younger daughter a choice between a few different kinds of literature courses this year. And I was actually quite surprised by the one she chose. One of her options was to read a classic fairy tale and then read a retelling of it. She did something similar to this when she was younger, where we took fairy tales and we read a bunch of different versions of picture books of them and then watched a cartoon or movie about it. And then she wrote her own. And so I thought this would be so reminiscent of that. She might not want to do it, but she did. This is what she chose. So I'm going to go through the books that we're doing for this. For the classic fairy tales, I'm using 2 different books. One is the Minalima Hans Christian Andersen book, but I don't know where that is right now. I think she has it in her room. And then the other one we're using is this, the Illustrated Fairy Tale Princess Collection. This is from 7 Seas Entertainment. It's where we've gotten a lot of our manga classics. And they also write books that are full text of classics, but with anime style illustrations. So that's kind of what it looks like in here. Say Beauty and the Beast, and you've got the illustrations look like that. So it's really cute. Some of them are in both this and the Hans Christian Andersen, so she can choose which one she wants to read it from. But most of them are in this book. So the first fairy tale she read this year was Princess and the Pea. And then she read A True Princess by Diane Zayler. And just like with my older daughter, I will let you know her thoughts on these as we go along when we do term updates. So she has read this one already, but I'll let you know what she thought of it when I do the update. The next classic story was The Ugly Duckling. For the retelling, she read A Beautiful Love by Megan Walker. The next book I'll have to put a picture up. I don't have it. She has it in her room right now. I was a little worried that she will get really sick of fairy tales this year. After every 2 fairy tales, I throw in a book that isn't a fairy tale just to kind of give her a palate cleanser. I don't know what you would call it. So right now she's reading Eva Evergreen. When she's done with that, she'll be reading The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. And so for that retelling, she'll be reading Breadcrumbs by Anne Ursu. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I read this recently and really loved it. I think this is a much better retelling of it than Frozen, even though I like Frozen. This is a more, what's the word? Oh, it's a more faithful retelling of Frozen. The next fairy tale will be Snow White and Rose Red. So for the retelling, she will then read The Captain and Miss Winter by Sally Britton. And then for the non-fairy tale book, she'll be reading Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lynn. Then she'll be reading Cinderella. And for the retelling, she'll be reading Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. And then she'll be reading The 12 Dancing Princesses. And for the retelling, The 13th Princess by Diane Zayler. I really don't know if that's how you pronounce her name, but it's how I've been saying it for years. So if you know, if I'm wrong, let me know. After that, she'll be reading another non-fairy tale. This one is a graphic novel by Andrew Simmons and Rob Corley called I Was an 8th Grade Ninja, Tomo. I think it's Tomo, an 8th grade ninja. Then she'll be reading Rapunzel, and for the retelling of that, Maiden in the Tower by Heidi Kimball. Then she'll read Sleeping Beauty in the Wood, and for that retelling, she'll be reading The Wide Awake Princess by E.D. Baker. It's not exactly the same story retold, but it's an interesting take on it. If you've read it, you know what I mean. And for her last non-fairy tale of the year, she'll be reading a manga classic of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. My oldest daughter really liked this one, and last year we went on a road trip to Kentucky, and on the way we stopped in Missouri to see the Mark Twain and Tom Sawyer sites. And so I think that will be a fun one for her. The last fairy tale of the year will be Little Mermaid. So for the retelling of that, I'm going to have her read Son of the Deep by K.B. Hoyle. In this retelling, the mermaid is the boy and the girl is the one on land. So it's a little different, but I thought it was really good. So either by the end of this year, she'll have a greater appreciation for fairy tales and retellings, or she'll hate them. I don't know which. We'll see. But I really love retellings. I think they're so much fun when they're done well. So I'm hoping that she'll enjoy the ones I've chosen. If you have any favorite retellings of any of these fairy tales that you think are better than the ones I've chosen, let me know, because it may not be time for her to have read it yet, and I can switch something out if something better comes along. These were the ones that I've read that I thought she might like. So yeah, let me know what you think. And if you have any favorite fairy tales,